With this Landslide build, you will crush every enemy in Sanctuary. You will be able to push the pit. I'm also bringing you a farm version so you can move fast in whatever activity you want to do. We will make the most out of the chaos items and the new perks to create a complete build in every sense. In this video, we will see how it works, the gear, skill tree, paragon, and more. Are you ready to take your build to the next level? Let's jump into the video. Hey everyone, Zaior here bringing you a new build for this season. Today it's time for a very complete, tanky build with enough damage to let you enjoy any activity you want. I'm talking about the Landslide build, and we will see which items and aspects are key for it to work properly so you can start tearing Sanctuary apart. We start with Basilisk Prayer. This item is important because it makes our Earth skills also Werebird skills. That way we can benefit from several things like the Survival Instinct node or the Ursine Strange passive. This means we can cast Landslide in Werebird form all the time, a great item with perfect affixes for building this setup. We will also use it in its Chaos version, so that is the helmet slot we can use Heart of Perdition. Next, Airbreaker. We'll also use this ring in its Chaos form just like Basilisk Prayer. This ring improves Landslide sustained damage by adding physical damage per second on the ground, and it can duplicate Landslide pillars if you place them inside the areas affected by the spikes. It's completely focused on physical damage, and since we are not using Grizzly Rage or Rabid Bear, we will focus purely on physical damage, bone-breaking power. And the third important item is Mjolnir Ring. This item gives us Infinite Spirit, which helps us stack Overabundance more easily. And we won't have any resource issues, meaning we will be casting Landslide all the time. Lastly, an important aspect for this build, the Aftershock aspect, which we will use in the Amulet. It makes our Landslide hit twice and deal extra damage per hit, crucial to maximize DPS. Let's show a bit of the game loop of this build. It's actually very easy, no complex stage here. You will mostly just cast Landslide non-stop. We start casting Cataclysms for infinite resource. Then we use Claw to activate Wild Transformation and keep casting Landslide. We will use our defensive skills whenever we are more vulnerable, but we also have Cyclone Armor, which will group enemies every time it activates. How will Cyclone Armor activate? Obviously when it's in our skill bar without cooldown, and also when we switch to human form thanks to Wild Transformation. Now how do we switch to human form? By activating Cataclysms or Cyclone Armor in battle. That way, we will constantly be grouping enemies to optimize DPS. All of this will be detailed in the planner, which you will find in the video description and comments. Let's move on to the gear. There are several options here, and this build can work by replacing some pieces, but I will show you the ones I think are the best. And if you don't have them, I will tell you what to use instead. All that info will also be in the planner. We start with Heart of Perdition. This mythic is key for damage, giving us 60% more damage and affixes like ranks for core skills that boost DPS a lot. But if you don't have this helm, you can use Fist of Fate, Chaos item remember, or just Basilisk Prayer, and then put Fist of Fate in the slot of Chaos Basilisk Prayer. The chest piece is more flexible. I don't think Shroud is mandatory, but if you have it, it's a great choice since it gives +1 to all passives and all stats, helping you reach all the rare paragon nodes. If you don't have it, Insatiable Fury works perfectly. For gloves, I'm using Airbreaker. They fit perfectly here since they give ranks for Landslide, and the other key affix in my opinion is Earth attack speed, because Landslide tends to be a bit slow, so attack speed is important for this build. In the pants, we will use Banished Lord Talisman. It gives 72% more overpowered damage after spending resources, a huge multiplier for our main source of damage. Here you can also improve ranks for core skills to keep increasing DPS. The boots can go with Basilisk Prayer. I explained earlier what it's used for, and willpower is the most important affix here to further boost our damage. For the main weapon, I prefer a dagger since it gives more attacks per second, meaning our cast speed will be faster than with a sword or one-handed mace. Here we will use the retaliation aspect to increase the damage of our core skills, in this case, Landslide. The tempering for casting Landslide twice doesn't need to be max, just make sure you are around 80% combined between Airbreaker, your dagger, and your totem. And on the totem, I recommended cooldown reduction so Cataclysms has a shorter cooldown, and here we use the Challenges Dev aspect. The Amulet is always an important piece for our damage, since it provides passive points. One with willpower and envenom is always the best option. and the third passive can be Quick Shift or Crushing Earth, like the one I have here. This tempering I have isn't the correct one, but you will see the right one in the planner. We will use Aftershock aspect here. Mjolnir Ring for Infinite Spirit and having ranks for Endless Tempest is a safe way to push and also farm comfortably, so I recommend improving this affix, and if you have GA, even better. Starless Skies has very interesting affixes, plus it gives 50% more damage, high attack speed, and ranks for core skills. But if you don't have it, a ring with willpower, GA on attack speed, and overpowered damage with Crush Stones or Natural Balance aspect can be a great choice. The skill tree is pretty simple to understand, nothing special, very similar to other builds that use Bear Form and Earth skills, like Pulverize. We start with Claw to activate Wild Transformation whenever we want, and it also helps us stack the Quick Shift passive, which gives us more damage. Then we take Primal Landslide, and the reason is simple, it gives 40% more critical strike damage, a huge multiplier for our main damage skill. Wild Impulses always works great in any core skill build since it increases their damage, so 3 points here are mandatory. Then we go with all our defensive skills. Earthen Bulwark for more barrier and unstoppable, Preserving Cyclone Armor to pull enemies together and for passive damage reduction, huge. Preserving Bloodhowl for more attack speed, but if your attack speed is already good, you can use Innate Bloodhowl to get 25% more damage instead. Innate Debilitating Roar for another 25% damage boost. Remember that Bloodhowl and Debilitating Roar trigger every time we change form, so you don't need to keep them in your skill bar on their effect to work. We will use Provocation for the extra damage it gives, not for the guaranteed overpower since we already have the Shan Rune for that, but the extra damage boost every so often is nice to raise DPS in certain moments. Obviously points for Envenom and Crushing Earth to directly increase our DPS. We will put 5 points into Cataclysms to reduce its cooldown as much as possible and increase its duration. Also, while it's active, enemies become vulnerable, so we won't need a gear affix that adds vulnerable chance. We finish with Ursine Strange, which gives more life, more damage, and 100% more overpowered damage while in bear form, which is the most of the time. Let's talk about the Paragon. Nothing new here, but there are 3 glyphs I was really curious to test, and we will see those at the end. We start with Headhunter, which gives more damage to elites and also increases willpower. Remember, willpower boosts our overpowered damage. This glyph has a great balance of power, so we will keep it on our first board where we have loss of willpower node. Next is Handed Malice, which increases damage to poison enemies, both mobs and bosses. And the must-use glyph here in every build is Spirit, since it puts critical strike damage and makes enemies take more damage when hit by a crit. Next, we go with Ancestral Guidance Node, increasing our damage by 40% when we spend resources, and this build spends a lot, so it's a huge multiplier. On this board, we will use the Dominate Glyph, which increases overpowered damage, and when we hit an enemy with an overpowered hit, they take 50% more damage for 5 seconds, and that's basically all the time. Our 4th board will be Earthen Devastation, a direct damage increase for Landslide since it's an Earth skill. The chosen glyph here will be Earth and Sky, which directly synergizes with Landslide since it's a nature magic skill, so it fits perfectly. To finish, we have Survival Instinct, which gives us more damage while in bear form, and even more if our life is full. It also gives extra overpowered damage. Here I was torn between 3 glyphs: Tectonic, Fang and Claw, and Outmatch. All 3 work well with this build, but I went with Outmatch since it gives 20% more damage to bosses and boosts nervy rare nodes. But feel free to swap it for any of the others. For example, Fang and Claw is great for enemies that are close, and might be faster for clearing trash in the pit. Any of those 3 are solid options. We start with Weariness to reduce elite damage. It's the best for pushing, and for farming you can swap it for Advantageous Speed for more movement speed. Subin attacks for attack speed, and Avian Grad to increase our damage. Energize is important to have a chance to restore spirit, helping us stack the overabundance perk, and Calamity can be useful for farming since it makes Cataclysms last longer. Finally, we will take Calm Before the Storm to reset our ultimate, so we'll always have Cataclysm ready before it runs out. Obsidian Slam isn't needed, since with the Shan Rune we will already guarantee overpowered crits most of the time. We start with Run Over Brains, giving that UEC 125% more overpowered damage, perfect for this build, since most of our damage comes from overpowered hit. Then purge the infected to guarantee critical hits, and those crits will deal 60% more damage. We are also poisoning enemies, which covers the poison synergy for nodes like Handed Malice or passives like Envenom. Overabundance is the universal multiplier, so it's mandatory to use it. We finish with Wild Transformation, a super useful perk since it gives us various buffs depending on the form we switch into. My favorite is the Werewolf form, because it gives 20% more critical strike damage, which is huge. Alright my Druids, that's it for today's video. I will leave you with a hit 100 run so you can see how fast this build goes and how fun it's to play. Those hits on monster feel amazing with this pure physical damage build. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the Sanctuary.